This is a Power BI course, therefore I don't want to dive too deep into DAX at this stage. However, DAX are part of Power BI, therefore I want to show you two a bit more advanced functions which you probably want to use in your own projects: filter and calculate. Let's start with filter. As the name indicates, filter allows us to filter information from a specific column. An example could be that you want to filter for the female population in our data. You remember in the fact population table, we have the gender column and there we have male and female. To do something like this, you can use this filter function, which then is surrounded by the parentheses right here. And inside there, you first have to add a table reference. So you have to refer to the table that contains the column you want to filter. And then you have to add a colon, and then you have to add your so-called filter. The filter in the end is nothing else than a column reference being set equal to the value you want to filter for. In our case, the column reference could be the gender column, which is then equal to female, so the string female here. We'll have a look at that in a few minutes from a practical perspective. So here we have the filter function, this purple part here, and then we have this filter logic inside the filter function. That's the brighter orange part here. Keep this in mind, because at this stage a filter doesn't help too much, because we are using the filter in a measure context, and as you learned, a measure returns a single value which we can then use in our data. For example, the total sum of the population that we just calculated. Therefore, an aggregation is missing at this stage. And to add this aggregation, we need another function. And this other function is, well, calculate. Calculate allows you to combine aggregation calculations, which would be a sum, for example, and filters. The calculate function then works like this. So you again have the parentheses to surround the entire function. And in there, you first have your expression. The expression in our case would contain the function, which contains then the aggregation. Sounds a bit complex here. In the end, this would just mean that we might want to calculate the sum with our sum function, and therefore we have to refer to our fact population table and the population column. So that's the first thing, what should be summarized in our case. And then we want to add our filters, right? That's the goal of this exercise. And to do this, we can simply add a colon and then add the filter logic, very important, not the filter function. You see, it's the brighter orange part I was referring to. And with that, we could then combine this. It's also possible to add multiple filters here, with a colon, and then a second filter. With that, you could first filter for a specific gender and then for the data of a specific year, 2020, for example. This is one way how to combine such calculations and a filter. Besides that, it's also possible to use the filter function here instead of our filter logic inside the filter function that we saw above. Now, that's a lot of theory at this stage. Therefore, let's go back to the project and apply these things in practice.